Land and place-based learning as a pedagogical approach in WECTEP is a big part of our base of our program, and to go out onto the land is to leave the building sometimes, and that doesn't need to be with your colleagues necessarily. I think to understand that land is a support system for all, and that support system can be a grounding for you as a professional, and as a way of looking after yourself, to be out in nature and to learn about it. So what are the trees species around you? What do they support? What is the name of the river? Where does it come from? Where does it go? How can you bring these understandings into your classroom? Well, you first need to learn yourself, and that doesn't have to be an extra thing into your busy day, but something that can support you and ground you and actually fulfill you and bring you joy, and then to bring that back into your classroom and to your students through bringing them outside. And maybe that begins as just a map in your classroom, or maybe you go outside into the schoolyard, or maybe you're comfortable walking into your community and finding out what's there to learn about, and learning with your students, allowing inquiry to be part of the process. And then certainly when you learn together, it can be a much more organic process, and sometimes it can take a weight off of your shoulders as a professional. I always ask WECTEP candidates to, on their own, go down and sit by the water and just be and reflect, and not have that as part of a formal assignment, but as a part of knowing their own identity and grounding in place. And when we have the opportunity to go out into nature, I usually start with trees, because trees are very accessible, they don't move around, and you can learn a lot just by observing and picking up. If it's a needle leaf tree, you can pick up the needles, and you can ask yourself how many are in a bundle, and how's that different from this tree here, and are they long, are they short? You don't need to know the names, but to start to differentiate one from the other is a process in scientific observation. And then from there you can start to learn what are these species, how are they part of the interconnected community around them. So how are they part of the Indigenous culture? How are they part of the ecosystem? And allowing that to be plants as a starting point allows you to get to know the neighborhood, your new neighborhood of the ecosystem that supports us, and then suddenly you're able to see more and bring that into your teaching.
Another land-based opportunity, it's engaging with the land, yes, it's engaging with the people of the land, and some of those people are fellow educators. So our students don't just remain in the classroom with just Megan and or I and an occasional guest, but we ensure that they have opportunities, either virtually or in person, to engage with other educators within the neighboring and involved districts. Professional development, learning, and then practice and reflection. Consider those a land place-based opportunity as well. Megan and I, where possible, try to get the students out to various areas in this community as an example of what they may do when they go to the community that will be their teaching community. So just as we want students who are in WECTEP to understand where you can go to find place and find support and resource, we want them to be able to go to their community of teaching and do the same thing. Find place, find support, and find resource.
Place consciousness is our signature pedagogy in WECTEP. And it seems like when you say pedagogy, it's a set of practices, but it's actually a way of being in the world that recognizes that we have a relationship to land and a responsibility to land. And that can be realized when we're learning from the land, on the land, and with the land. We recognize land as sentient. And so engaging in WECTEP in this way, right from the beginning of the program, helps us come to understand that place is very important in how we learn, who we are, and what education can be. One of the exciting things that we've been able to engage in over the last 5 to 7 years in WECTEP is partnering with local school districts in situ or in context learning on the land, engaging in relational practices with the land, not as something you do in practicum, but something that we already do in education. So teacher candidates get to experience this with practicing teachers. And so when they do move into practicum in their own careers, they've lived it. They've had experiences. And so, for instance, we worked in Rock Creek. We went out onto the land with the entire school there, with West Boundary Elementary, and learned about and with the land from multiple perspectives, and coming to understand that there are many lenses we can apply to that place. And when we use those lenses, we can actually understand not just the power of that place, but what we can do to take care of that place and give back to that place.
In the past couple of days that I've been here with WECTEP, I've learned that students are given opportunities. For example, today they're out on the land, and so they have a field trip. So they're being introduced to some place-based and land education concepts on their field trip right now. I know that intentionally the instructors plan for those field trips when the different seasons allow for them to do that. And so they're given an opportunity to learn from different people and to learn from different perspectives. So from the place-based perspective and the land education-based, the Indigenous land education, ways of knowing and interacting with place. So they're exposed to both, and I think that's really interesting because then it's not privileging one way of knowing over the other, and then to help them start to see what they have in common, and to see what's possible with how they can start to integrate some of those understandings about both and bring them together to benefit their students. Personally, my opinion is that it's great to do it at the beginning of the program, because then the WECTEP program is actually walking the talk. So they're not just saying this is what we do, they're actually making sure that that's what they're doing. And it's great that they're doing it so soon after starting the program, so that students get going on that understanding or that journey, that path right away within the first few days of their program. And so that to me tells me that the program has a real commitment, and that they want to ensure that their students are benefiting immediately from what's possible. So land education, to me, I always see it as land with an uppercase L, and I see that because I have an understanding that land is a sentient being, and so land with an uppercase L acknowledges that or honors that understanding, as we would use an uppercase letter with someone's name, first name. And so that's a visual reminder that land is as important as another person, and that land can serve as a teacher if you're willing to learn with land and engage with land and develop a relationship with land. And so lots of Indigenous scholars are now taking that up and using land with an uppercase L deliberately and consciously to signify that understanding that land is a teacher, and it is with spirit and is alive and able to heal.